When you hear the term ghost town, what is it you see? Maybe a small town in the hills once teeming with miners and machines digging for coal, or a city ravaged by war and decades of violence. But the thing is, even big cities during times of peace can end up in ruins. And for those of you who fancy a good movie about the end of the world, here are the 9 most deserted cities and towns around the world. Welcome to Hashima Island, a former underwater coal mine that's probably the coolest industrial theme park you'll ever see. Back in the 1950s, this island was buzzing with 5,000 workers, ready to take on typhoon winds and high tides like true champs. Fast forward to 1974, when all mining operations were completely shut down, leaving this place deserted and kinda strangely cinematic, like a scene out of Skyfall. Today, this island is not just a relic of mining history, it's a reminder of the dark history of forced labor during the Second World War. Sure, you can't stroll around Hashima as a tourist looking for fun things to do, but a handful of journalists have dared to venture into this forbidden zone, hoping to unravel its forgotten mysteries and tales. Now, building a skyscraper is one thing, but to build a whole city from scratch is quite another. 4 times the size of London, Naypyidaw is the capital of Myanmar. From a thick, lush forest of rice paddies to a spread of massive roads and buildings, did you know this brand new Burmese city took 10 years to build? Costing the government a whopping $4 billion, it's a place where joy comes to die. That's right, with more infrastructure than people to use it, Naypyidaw may have all the makings of a fine urban center. The malls, hotels, and the offices. But this empty work of concrete has put a massive drain on the country's economy, leading many to question if urban planning at this scale is worth it, making Naypyidaw officially the most uninhabited capital city in the world. Time to step into Kayaköy, Turkey, a place steeped in ancient history, with human footprints dating back to 1400 BCE. But it's the more recent drama during the Greco-Turkish War that this place now looks like this. In the early 1920s, Greeks living in this region found themselves facing intense persecution and the harsh atrocities of war at the hands of the Turks, forcing them to move. Following the end of the war in 1922, the once thriving city was completely abandoned. Today, it feels like walking through a living museum, a haunting testimony to a bygone era. As you wander through the remains of 500 houses, protected by the Turkish government like history treasures waiting to tell their stories. Amid the ruins also lie 2 Greek Orthodox churches that stand tall and proud, in silence, holding the weight of a dark, turbulent history on their stone domes and towers. Now moving on to what has got to be the shadiest Chinese project, the so-called Forest City in Malaysia, often described as one of the biggest ghost towns in the world. Following great hype for being a $100 billion mega affair, this city may have all the concrete miracles you want. But guess what's missing? You're right, pretty much any signs of human life. Home to less than 5% of its expected population, you are probably wondering how such a big development could go so terribly wrong.
Development will be for outsiders, including mainland Chinese, to come and live here. That is not foreign direct investment, and none of our people are employed.
Touted as one of China's largest overseas investments in a foreign country, is now just a bunch of deserted roads, empty malls, and tarnished pillars. With cracks in buildings and whole sections of roads sunk into ground, talk about a realtor's nightmare. Now, the Kolmanscop in Namibia is another classic case of how mining towns often have a short lifespan. Located in the southwest of Namibia, this small town was built in 1908 when a railway worker found a large diamond nearby, sparking a major mining rush in the area. German workers flocked to the town, turning it into a bustling hub of trade, teeming with modern amenities like a hospital, ballroom, a sports center, and even the first X-ray station in the southern hemisphere or the first tram in Africa. But all this changed. In 1928, a bigger diamond mine was discovered some 260 kilometers away to the south. By the end of the Great War, The mines were running low and the place was entirely abandoned in 1956. Thanks to the relentless forces of the desert, this former mining town is now buried under sand. Surprisingly, it remains open for visitors, but you might need a permit as the place is located in an off-limits part of the old Namibia desert. Now journeying to the enigmatic town of Döllersheim in Austria, with a history as haunting as its empty streets. Once a thriving community in the picturesque region of Waldviertel, things took a tragic turn when the Nazis annexed the town in 1938. Plans to turn the place into a military training ground resulted in the mass evacuation of thousands of local citizens. But it seems fate had other plans, and the training ground never saw the light of the day. But even as the bloody winds of the Great War gave way to peace, the town remained in a state of abandonment, frozen in time. Churches and houses, once vibrant with life, now silent as a grave. But even today, a handful of resilient souls still call this ghost town home, their human presence adding another touch of surrealism to this desolate landscape. Welcome to the Kangbashi district in Ordos City, China. In a nation known for vibrant and super crowded urban centers like Beijing and Shanghai, Kangbashi stands as a rare anomaly. Nestled in the northern region of Inner Mongolia, this business hub defies the typical narrative. Construction started in 2003, it had enough homes for 300,000 residents. But in reality, as of 2010, Kangbashi was home to just 20,000.
You know, one thing I notice here is, how should I put this, there aren't that many people around.
Yeah.
You know, you look at it, there aren't that many people.
This city also has a nickname called Ghost City.
Despite boasting some truly massive residential buildings and skyscrapers, Kangbashi remains the largest ghost town in present-day China. We now make our way to the Famagusta in Cyprus, once a key center for trade in the Middle Ages. But things changed when the Turkish army took over the city in 1974 after a failed military coup in Greece. The district of Varosha, where many Greeks lived, seemed to bear the biggest brunt. Thousands of people were forced to leave, and the area was divided with barbed wire, with the Turkish government refusing to let the old Greek dwellers of the city return to their homes. In 2017, Turkish citizens were granted access to the Varosha beach, and 2 years later, there was even talk of reopening the empty hotels. But just like the precarious fate of a divided Cyprus, the future of this town also remains unclear. Now, let's hop over to this quiet place in Russia, the lost city of Akarmara in Georgia. Once a bustling hub of 40,000 residents, now marked with the occasional echoes of curious tourists. The fate of the city was sealed with the declining importance of coal in the world, but it was the siege of Kayaköy in 1992 that brought the town to its knees. For 400 days, the city was cut off from the world, relying on helicopters for their basic needs. Today, the majestic buildings stand their ground as relics of a bygone era. Amid some recent rumors of revamping the place as a resort town, but from what we can tell, the odds of that happening are pretty much slim to none. And well, there you have it. Cities frozen in time, villages ravaged by war, mining towns once buzzing with the sound of loud machines, now silent as a grave, giant empty skyscrapers and failed development projects. For some, it's just the bad economy with low industry and high rates of unemployment pushing people away. In others, it's big natural disasters like hurricanes or the bloody wars of history forcing thousands of people to evacuate. If you enjoyed this journey into the most desolate cities around the world, don't forget to like and make sure you hit that bell button for more fascinating journeys with us in the future. Until then, happy traveling, and we'll see you next time.